Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, August 2nd, 2015. I am going to have to start out talking about the storyline of the week, the biggest reveal, the thing that every single person has been talking about, Nikki's hair. Nikki got new hair, and let me tell you, I heard a lot of comments this week. I mean, far more than talking about Devon and Hillary, far more than talking about Jax wanting to reveal the twin twist of Phyllis. Everybody has been talking about Nikki's new short hair. It is perfect in my opinion. I mean, the consensus seems to be, yes, this is the hairstyle she should have had 2 years ago. It looks so good. It's short. It was styled curly. I just think it was very dignified. I loved it so much. I think it's so appropriate for her. I wish we were seeing this hair like 2 years ago. It's just right on. Thumbs up. Nikki looks good. Okay, and now, I mean, everything else is just gonna be boring. Well, not quite, actually. I am really, really happy with the fact that Devon and Hillary's story was brought to the forefront this week. In fact, I love Hillary and Devon together. It almost seemed like they were happy enough and starting to put the whole incident with Neil behind them, and almost like Y&R was maybe gonna sweep it under the rug a little bit, but no, not quite. I am so on board, and I'm begging, please Y&R, please give us a big, splashy wedding for Devon and Hillary that Neil will ruin. I mean, I was waiting for it from the beginning of the week as Neil was clearly seething with anger, and they're planning this wedding, and I'm just thinking, I want it, Lily's helping Devon and Hillary plan the wedding, and they're talking about all the different things they could do, and I'm thinking, ooh, I want to see a wedding. We haven't seen a wedding in so long, but then I just want to see Neil tear it down. And it's not that I don't love Devon and Hillary, I just think it's such a great dramatic opportunity. By the way, as much as I'm enjoying seeing Hillary go through her process of being the happy bride, if I were her, I would never, ever allow Lily to help me plan my wedding. I mean, after all of that water has traveled under that bridge, there's no way I would let that woman anywhere near my special day. And in fact, I wouldn't really want Devon's judgmental sister butting up in my wedding day anyway, but she apparently allowed it. It's like Devon and Hillary and even Lily, everybody's kind of trying to forgive, trying to forget, everybody except for Neil. It's just been so beautiful. It's a perfect dynamic. The wedding's really quick. It's coming up. Apparently, they're going to be getting married in 1 week. I don't know how much Y&R time that is. I don't know if we're going to be seeing all of the main fireworks paying off next week, but I'm looking forward to it. But I'm kind of enjoying the journey here, and this is an example of a storyline that I wish Y&R would drag out a little bit, because I loved the scene upstairs in Hillary's room where she's with Lauren picking out dresses, and she's actually opening up about her feelings. The last time she was married, it didn't quite work out, and she's naturally thinking about all of that. And by the way, just a side note, absolutely loved that Lauren was woven into that story, which is where she belongs. Certainly, she's now connected to the Winters family via Kane. But I loved that Lauren was up there looking at Hillary's dresses, seeing how excited Hillary was, and she was starting to think about her relationship with Michael. She had a flashback to her own wedding, and Lauren is heartbroken. She wants to, be supportive and be positive, but she's just barely holding it together. And I loved that as Hillary was opening up to Lauren, Lauren was opening up to Hillary, and Lauren even said how disappointed she was in Michael, because she said something like, he was, Michael was constantly trying to protect me from him when all I wanted was him. And I thought that was such a poignant way to say it, and I was overjoyed when Lauren, full in the wedding veil regalia, kind of runs downstairs amidst all all of Hillary's wedding stuff, and she bumps into Michael with the veil on her head, and Michael has now completely turned the corner. It was like the second he got what he wanted, the divorce, he changed. And now he realized what he did, and he wants her back. And he made that known, I think it was last week, there was a scene at the police station, and then now here at the athletic club, they're running into one another again, and he said something to her like, seeing you like this reminds me of one of the best days of my life. Clearly these are two people that still love each other, and I was overjoyed to hear Lauren say, she was almost ready to walk away from the conversation. She did a second beat, and she looks back at him and she says, you had mentioned that you were willing to move on, or you were willing to forgive, and I want you to know that I really want to learn to forgive too. So it ended on this note of hope for Michael and Lauren, which made me so happy. I'm so ready to get into their reunion. I hate that they divorced, and in fact I'm still waiting for this twist that maybe Michael didn't actually file the divorce papers, if that's even possible, but I'm ready for the Michael and Lauren reunion. In some ways their relationship came apart with so little fanfare, and I think Y&R owes it to the Michael and Lauren fans to bring it back on a big elaborate level. Maybe Michael and Lauren should have the big wedding. I would love to see them renew their vows or have a re-wedding with all of the trimmings. That would be so wonderful. But I'll settle for Hillary and Devon for now, because we also know, and that's the thing, is Devon's loaded. He's got all of this money, and Lily was alluding to that during the planning process, saying you can pretty much have whatever you want because you're rich. And I'm drooling, I'm salivating over here thinking about, oh, we could have this and that and all the flowers and all the decorations, and it could be an epic wedding that's so anticipated, and then Neil could just come crashing through the wall or something and destroy it. Although I had no idea what would unfold in the week. I had no idea what Neil was actually planning. But for now, I'm kind of on the ride along with Hillary and Devon, and I loved Hillary up in her room after Lauren left, thinking about who she is, thinking about the journey that she's been on, thinking about luck and karma, and Neil saying to them out loud weeks and weeks ago after he found out about the affair that karma's a bitch and you're gonna get it, and then having Neil come up to her room. I mean, she's in the middle of planning a wedding to his son and thinking about Neil, and Neil shows up, and instead of ripping her a new one and being extra judgmental, Neil has this suspicious understanding about him, leading Hillary to believe that although he wasn't gonna come to the wedding, he wasn't gonna interfere with the wedding, and that he wanted, everything to be happy, and that they gave her a sense of thinking that Neil actually wanted to move on. So, not quite the case. I was completely on board the second that Colin comes up to Devon and says, you know what, you're getting married, we need to throw you a bachelor party. I thought, yeah, let's do it. Let's have a party. Let's have some fun. I keep wanting these types of scenes. Like, I want to see some decorations. I want to see some different sets, and I'm waiting for something kind of cool to happen. And I thought, okay, a bachelor party could be sort of fun. The show is sometimes kind of heavy lately, and I thought, oh, this could be kind of lighthearted. So it was Devon and Colin and Kane and Michael up in this new hotel suite. I don't think it was at the athletic club. I'm guessing it was at some other hotel, strategically, I'm sure. And so we see this hotel suite, and there's champagne, and Colin decides to call in some dancers, aka basically prostitutes, I guess, high-class prostitutes. Oh, that was so humiliating. The second Colin opened the door, the ladies show up. Every single guy in the room was like, no thank you, I'll pass. I'm either married or committed or not a scumbag and not really wanting to pay for sex right now. I thought, well, more for Colin. Maybe he's just gonna keep partying on his own. But then this one woman comes up to Devon and she starts coming on to him saying, "Oh, hey, my name is India. Are you interested in exploring India?" Blech. She's all over him. She's touching on his shirt, and I don't even know why, but he's still sorta there going along with it. And slowly we start to see that Devon is feeling lightheaded. He maybe doesn't know where he is, what he's doing, and India is all over him. In fact, she gets him up and she leads him into the bedroom where she closes the door, and Colin just so happened to be standing there with a phone recording the entire thing. I was so shocked because he had this smug look on his face, and I thought, well, what does Colin have it in for Devon? I started trying to connect the pieces of, does this have to do with when he was blackmailing him, or why would Colin have a motive for this? And then it completely dawned on me, even before it was revealed, he's gonna send this to Neil. This is somehow gonna get back to Neil, but what I didn't expect was that Neil was behind the entire thing. I almost felt bad for Devon. The next morning, India, I'm just gonna call her India, she was still there in the hotel room. She comes out, she's wanting her money. So this is a prostitute. This was a pre-planned thing. Colin had the money to pay her in an envelope. He already knew what the plan was. He had it already pre-prepared in an envelope in a Victor Newman-esque style. Hands her the cash. She goes off on her way. Devon comes out of the hotel, or out of the bedroom part, and he's stumbling. He's not really sure what happened. It's gross to think that Colin was even there all night. I mean, Devon at this point knows he woke up in a strange place with a strange woman, and yuck, Colin is there. And of course, Colin is there to verify Devon's worst fears. He lets Devon believe that he cheated on Hillary when separately, when he was handing her the money, Colin confirmed with the prostitute that they didn't have sex. So Colin is just making Devon think this, and he even had a line. It was so gross. I like Colin, and it was really hard for me to like him in this moment. He said, "Yeah, I heard everything. In fact, I know way more about your sexual appetites than I would care to." I mean, Colin acted disgusted by thinking about what it was Devon was into in bed. That made me really uncomfortable. Ultimately, I think, like, the Colin character excites me because he's a wild card. We don't expect anything from him. We don't expect Colin to have morals. He's just gonna breeze into the scene. He's gonna mix things up. He's gonna have that really light, smug attitude, and then he's gonna be on his way. And there is something I appreciate about that type of character more than who Colin is as a person. But it was absolutely disgusting what he did to Devon, making Devon think this and throwing Devon into this "what did I do" moment. I mean, Devon doesn't even know that it was a setup at this point. He doesn't know that it's probably going to turn into some kind of blackmail situation, or I don't know. Devon doesn't know how this has completely destroyed his life, but I think he really wanted to confess right away, because after things break up in that room, he goes back to find Hillary, and Hillary has just been reaffirmed in her decision to marry Devon. She's been through it. She's been thinking all night about, hey, maybe it is my time to be happy. Maybe I don't have to hold myself back, hold back my excitement, and pretend that I don't want this romantic wedding when I really do. I want to be with the man that I love. And in fact, earlier in the week, Devon had convinced her, we paid for what we did. We've already paid that price. Now is the point where we get to enjoy it. And just at the moment where Hillary allowed herself to feel comfortable in that, confident in that, Devon comes back into the room. He sees how happy she is, and rather than telling her, he chooses not to, which made me, of course, disappointed in Devon, but the payoff is going to be so much better down the road, because downstairs in the athletic club, we see Neil getting a text message or a video message from Colin. It's the video followed by a little interaction between them where Colin says, did you get the video? And Neil says, oh, yes, I did. did, and it becomes quite clear that it was Neil who initiated this whole thing. He bankrolled the whole thing. By the way, I did laugh a little bit at the fact that Colin Neil indicated that he wired Colin the money that obviously he was paying him to enact this dirty deed, and Colin even asked, did you include expenses? Are expenses included? There was something about that made me laugh, that it's not just the blackmail. Colin is in this purely for the money. He wanted to make sure that this was an absolutely lucrative venture for him, and I'm sure it certainly was. But it's almost shocking to me that Neil would go to those lengths, but think about what they did to him. Think about being blind and having your son and your wife having an affair behind your back. There's no excuse for what Hillary and Devon did to them. Love is not a big enough excuse for what they did to Neil. And we may have kind of forgotten about it as the story has died down, and I think most people seem to like the dynamic between Hillary and Devon, but there's no reason that Neil should have forgotten about it. And we've gotten little clues throughout the past few weeks that Neil is dark, that he's having these dark fantasies about them. And ooh, Lord, I think it's going to be even darker than we thought it was going to be. As far as Neil's intentions, I almost wonder if Neil was hoping initially that Devon would confess to Hillary, because after Devon didn't tell Hillary, there was a scene upstairs at the Sky Bar where Devon and Hillary were sitting, and Neil comes up, and the fact that they're still friendly tells Neil everything he needs to know, that Devon did not confess, that Devon decided to keep this yet another lie. He decided to tell yet another lie, this time to Hillary. And Neil had this moment of, okay, I see what this is. So these two people are walking around town talking about how reformed they are, and Neil knows otherwise. They are still lying, or at least Devon is. And I think Neil has everything he needs now to completely blow it up. He gave his son kind of a chance. I mean, he set up the whole situation, but he gave him kind of a chance to work his way out of it. I guess because Neil's intention is to stop the wedding. Is that what the initial intention is? To just stop the wedding and maybe have kind of a lesser crime? Because Nikki's been talking to Neil throughout the week, trying to talk him down from the ledge as he is confessing to really having these dark fantasies about Devon and Hillary. So maybe that was his way of just sort of nudging the whole setup with Devon. Maybe was his way of nudging the wedding toward a screeching halt. But now, I think, now that we've entered a lie into it, now that Devon's lied to her about it, I think Neil is seeing an opportunity to enact a larger revenge. Now, I don't know if that's true. He may have been planning the larger revenge all along, but what about Neil's weird-ass duct tape fantasy? That was bizarre. I mean, I couldn't even believe what I was watching on the scene. Neil is thinking about revenge on these two people, and thinking about something and doing it are two different things. So I don't necessarily think it indicates that Neil is resolved in his idea to go through with something maniacal, but the fact that his dream, his fantasy, was to see Devon and Hillary get to their wedding day, to get down the aisle, to be ready to say their vows, but their mouths are duct taped shut. Oh, that is dark. Can you even imagine thinking that about a child, somebody that you think of as a son, and that I could see him thinking about it with Hillary. She's the wife who betrayed him, but your son, I mean, there was just something about seeing their mouths duct taped shut that was so shocking to me. But clearly Neil is planning to, or wanting, or now has an excuse to let them go through, almost get married, before he drops the bomb of the century. What are you guys thinking about Kane and Lily? Is this a couple that you're rooting for? I feel like I like Lily and Kane. I would like them to stay together, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Kane is taking every opportunity that he can find to needle Lily. I mean, he's drinking. He drunkenly interrupts Lily while she's doing wedding planning with Devon and Hillary just to dress her down in front of everyone. He is not missing a single opportunity to let everyone know that she betrayed him, and basically that he thinks she's that she's kind of a slut or something, that she's the infidel. She's the one who betrayed him. And although I think that Kane has a right to be mad, of course, his wife cheated on him, although he did contribute to that whole sequence of events by pursuing what I think still is an inappropriately close relationship with Lauren, favoring Lauren. I understand what happened. I understand the circumstances around it. He has a right to be mad. He has a right to leave Lily. If what he wants to do is divorce her, there's no reason on earth why he is not justified in his feelings to do so. And frankly, I kind of like seeing this side of Kane. I like that he's being aggressive. I like that he's standing up for himself. I like that he's not just rolling over and letting his love for Lily, wash over any of the sins that she would have committed. But on the negative side, Kane is not an innocent flower in this relationship. Unless I'm forgetting something or remembering incorrectly. Kane maybe never cheated on her, but he certainly did lie to her about his identity. By the way, notice that Colin called him Ethan this week. There was a brief little scene where Colin called him Ethan, and I almost think that was a little seed to help us remember. Kane lied to Lily about his identity, about his whole life, about who he was, and not only that, but he allowed her to think that he was dead for months. Remember, we went through a long phase in Lily and Kane's relationship where it was constantly him lying to her. It was just her finding out about lie after lie after lie, and she forgave him. And now the tables have turned a little bit, and Lily's not repeatedly lying. She had one indiscretion, and he refuses to even think about forgiving her. That was the straw that broke this proverbial camel's back. This is the one thing he was not able to forgive. And now we're starting to see the beginnings of Lily and Joe's relationship. And, all signs point to Kane is moving forward with this divorce, even though Lily doesn't want it. But I think Lily feels so bad about herself right now that any positive attention from a man is maybe helping her to get through. Although I don't even know why you would want to be 10 feet in Joe's radius when he's the reason that your marriage broke up. I never got the impression that there was some intense connection between Lily and Joe. When they had sex, it was completely circumstantial. Lily had been drinking, so I don't know why she would give him the time of day. I don't know why Lily always gets all of the hunkiest men on the show, because I would be real happy if I just had to choose between Kane and Joe. If that was where I was in my life, I would be absolutely over the moon. Thank you. Maybe I'll have one of each, please. I'll have Kane on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'll have Joe the rest of the week. Fine by me. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Do you feel any chemistry between Lily and Joe? They had a little date this week. I was shocked that she would even agree to it. And of course, he sneaks a kiss in on her, and Kane happens to come into the room and sees at that very moment. So I don't know. I don't know. You let me know how you feel about Joe and Lily. Let me know how you feel about Lily and Kane. I know it seems like YNR fans are very mixed on Lily and Kane. A lot of people wanted them broken up for a long time, and a lot of people love them. I think they have as many fans as they do people who just want to see them done. So let me know where you stand on that. Either way, it almost seems to me that we're not going to be able to stop this train. Kane did have a moment of, I don't know, I guess somewhat calming down on his position with Lily, because he did finally acknowledge to her, look, you're a good mom. I think we should have shared custody of the children. But it was this tender moment between them where Lily was wanting more. I think she was really hoping that Kane was going to say that he forgave her, but he's really standing firm on his position that maybe divorce is the answer. I do think that Chelsea and Adam are probably one of the most compelling couples on the show. The push, the pull, the love, the hate, all of those elements are what goes into a really, really strong soap couple. It's kind of funny. I've been watching, old episodes of a show called Moonlighting. I don't know if anybody remembers it. I think it aired maybe late 80s. It starred Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis, and they just had this incredible chemistry on scene. I mean, it's just undeniable. And they're watching that series, kind of revisiting that series. I watched it when it aired, and now I'm just kind of going back and wanting to get into it because I love Sybil Shepherd, whose daughter was on YNR for a certain period, as she played Mackenzie for a while. But there's something about that dynamic that reminds me of Adam and Chelsea. They have this just really undeniable chemistry, I think, both between the actors and just in the legacy of the story. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point. I didn't always love Adam and Chelsea together because I was an Adam and Sharon fan, as you know. But I do really enjoy them to this day. And I was absolutely shocked that Adam decided to come out to Chelsea and tell her the truth about Sage's baby. He didn't even have to. I mean, he straight up tells her that Sage's baby, might not be Nick's, or he admits that there was a question about whether or not Nick was actually the father. And I was just absolutely floored. He did not have to tell her. He could have, he found out last week that, Nick tells him he is the father. Adam could have easily just swept that information under the rug. He did not have to blow up the fact that he slept with Sage, but he did. And Chelsea found, Chelsea's like, are you kidding me? I mean, to her, it's just another lie, just another betrayal. If I were her, I would be so done with him. That's not to say that I don't enjoy them for the show, but if it were me, if I were in her fashionable shoes, fashionable, very expensive shoes, I would have left him a while ago. All that being said, by the way, I thought she looked great in that bright red jumpsuit. How great did Chelsea look this week? I mean, jumpsuits must be back. Remember a couple weeks ago when Lily was wearing that funky jumpsuit, and now Chelsea just looks so good in bright fire engine red. I loved the tone of the gold necklace that she had on. Her hair was perfect. It just looked good. I loved like the cut of the jumpsuit had a little almost like V slit. I love V-necks, and it just looked so good. Gosh, the fashion was just on point this week. Maybe everything just comes full circle, because jumpsuits were a little more in maybe in the 80s, and I don't know, it's sort of, or maybe late, I don't know, but like a couple years ago, wearing a jumpsuit would not have been real fresh, but seems to be now. Anyway, so Chelsea finds out about this. She storms out on Adam at the athletic club, goes back to her apartment, and of course Adam shows up there. He's at the door. He's practically wanting to beat it down. I mean, he's groveling, saying, I'm sorry. He's got any number of excuses as to why he did what he did, but she shuts him down, which I liked to see. I like to see that even though this couple works, I like to see Chelsea not just rolling over and giving in to him, because how many other women on the show do that? It seems that, people go off and do something bad and then they just get forgiven right away. And I do like that Chelsea is standing up to someone who she loves. It's probably the hardest thing that she's ever had to do, to know that he's there, to have mourned him, to love him, to have lost him, and now to have this opportunity to be back with him, but to realize that it's just not going to work. She even goes as far as to say to him, I'm sorry, Connor and I are better without you. I can't imagine how difficult that was for her to say. I can't imagine how difficult that was for Adam to hear, but he has no choice. and he decides to leave. Now, just as Adam has left, Paul shows up with a warrant for Gabe. Paul's still trying to get to the bottom of this whole mess with Jack shooting, and is it connected to the murder? And I don't want to. Poor Paul in his life. He shows up with this warrant for Gabe, and for Gabe's arrest, but apparently he's gone. Adam is gone. We are learning that he is, he's broken the terms of his release, and he's just Splitsville. Chelsea realizes this, and she goes to Jack's, thinking that maybe Adam would be there. She knows that Jack knows his true identity, so she starts to talk to Jack, and in fact, I was worried. Phyllis was upstairs in the bedroom. I thought, oh my gosh, is Phyllis going to come down and hear this? Because Phyllis is going to be very upset. Everyone's going to be very upset when they find out not only that Adam Newman is alive, but that Jack lied about it. So I was all nervous during that scene, but Chelsea ended up just kind of having a quiet heart-to-heart with Jack, and I think that's maybe the first time she confronted him about knowing Gabe's real identity. But it was a really great scene, and Chelsea sort of, Jack certainly explained where he was coming from and why he chose to keep the secret, and Chelsea is telling Jack, you don't have to keep the secret. I'm done with it. This is not going to happen. I'm not going to get back together with him. Frankly, Adam Newman was better off when we thought he was dead. And not only just for me, for our son too. He's really nothing but trouble. This is causing trouble. It's bringing danger into our home. And it was of course, a very, again, difficult thing for Chelsea to say. And we zoom over into another room of the house, and Adam is there, and he has overheard Chelsea saying all of that. So now Adam realizes he doesn't have anything left for him there. And it's one thing if Chelsea doesn't want to be with him, but I think he's not about to give up on his son, and he's not about to let Chelsea just keep the reins for Connor. He wants to know him. So, gosh, next thing we know, Adam's in the car with Connor. He's basically kidnapping him, saying, it's just you and me now, kid, and he's driving off into the night. I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge. I mean, is Adam going to go on the run? Is this going to end up leading to his identity? Whoa, it's just like going to be another thing to add to his rap sheet. But before you know it, Adam's, bringing, matter of fact, Chelsea comes home to where Anita was supposed to be babysitting, and realizes that he's gone, realizes that Adam must have took him. Before she could get out the door and call 911, Adam shows back up. He brings Connor home, he was just, I don't know, decided against it. I don't know why he decided not to. He was damn well gonna take the kid, and then a better sense came over him and he decided not to. And I think, gosh, if there ever was a last straw for Chelsea, that had to be it. I mean, she just realized what a loose cannon he is. Not only has he done all of the things that he's done up until this point, but now he almost took my son. And she says to him, I can't do this anymore. I cannot keep setting myself up to be disappointed by you. I'm done. And I was with her. I totally, obviously the story's not done, but I was with her in that moment. Like, yes, I would have left him. I would have been done with him too, no doubt. Ugh. Just on a little side note here, because it's not even a big deal. It's not even going to amount to a big deal. I knew Paul was going to have a heart attack. Paul is trying to figure out where Gabe is. Is he on the lam? He's gone back to the police station, and he's getting himself all worked up over the case. Chris is trying to calm him down. The man was sweating. I mean, you could see the beads on his face, and I thought he's gonna collapse on the floor in about a second. And of course he did. He has to get rushed off to the hospital. He's had a heart attack. So I guess he'll just be there for the next couple of days. And while Paul is off in the hospital, Adam decides that he's going to turn himself in. If Chelsea's done with him, he just decides, I have to take responsibility for my actions. Finally, he goes to the police, he turns himself in. Instead of Paul, he gets Detective Harding, which I was very tickled by. I liked it. He certainly took that opportunity to needle Gabe as much as possible, and I enjoyed every moment of it. But now we have the moment of the dreaded fingerprints. As soon as Gabriel Bingham gets fingerprinted, they're gonna realize that he's Adam Newman, which is, I'm surprised that he didn't go to the trouble of burning off his fingertips or having the plastic surgeon reconstruct, while you're reconstructing someone to look exactly like someone else, why not just reconstruct their fingerprints as well? Why not go all the way with this craziness? But no, just as Adam's hand is getting ready for the fingerprints, Harding gets a phone call, and it's someone demanding, it's a judge or somebody, some judge I think, demanding his release. So he gets off scot-free, and we all now realize that at least this part of the story, or his identity, this part of the story is over. His identity is safe for now because it was Jack who saved his hide. Of course, I loved Jack's tearful homecoming. Nobody can really chew a scenery like Peter Bergman. He says so much without saying anything. The moment he walked into the Abbott mansion for the first time, now feeling that the Marco danger is at least mostly removed, and just having that moment of being able to return to the Abbott mansion as himself, starting to pick up what's left of his life. I loved seeing him look around the room. I loved seeing him just notice the picture on the mantle that was Phyllis with the Jack look-alike, and just such a bittersweet reunion. I mean, so many happy memories, but this really insidious memory, or quote-unquote memory, for Phyllis anyway, that's now injected into that life. I thought it was a great mixed emotion reunion. I'm sure he's not going to be too happy when he has a reunion with his bank account, by the way, because I bet Marco pretty much blew through a pretty penny or two. Because it was funny, Billy mentioned the Ferrari incident, and Jack didn't quite know what he was talking about, but I'm sure he's going to be ticked off to find out he bought a Ferrari on his credit card, probably, or cash. So he is Jack is really wanting to just sink back into his comfortable life. He's wanting to sink back into his life with Phyllis, but it's not going to be as easy as he was hoping it was going to be. I mean, Jack's dreamed of his reunion with her since he was chained to the bed in some godforsaken Caribbean hut. And now he's finally back with her, and it is also, there's an insidious sort of thread that's now woven into that relationship too. They go upstairs and they make love, and after and I guess the thing is, Jack and Phyllis are making love, and it's a very slow paced lovemaking. You can tell that Jack is looking at her, wanting to savor every single moment, which is a starkly different. I know I usually don't have as hard of a time choosing my words, but it's starkly different from the crazed lovemaking that Phyllis experienced with Marco. And after Jack and Phyllis make love, there's this scene where she falls asleep, but she's still awake, or making him think that she's asleep, and she's thinking about how different that was. So, I mean, Phyllis has to know that something is up. Everything about Jack's personality is now slowed down. It's gone back to where it was before. I don't know if there's a part of Phyllis that sort of misses the excitement, but it's obviously very awkward between them. Jack is trying to do everything he can do to reconnect with Phyllis, while not telling her the truth about what really went down, that there were two Jacks. So he decides that he wants to go back to Istanbul. This was kind of the last time that they went away together, and that they were, really able to connect, because even the wedding, when they went away, that is a source of intense pain for Jack. So he takes her back to Istanbul, and what a coincidence, he's able to get the exact same set, I mean the exact same hotel suite as last last time. That was a while ago. That was Michelle Stafford still in the role when they were in Istanbul. But it was nice to see them back there trying to recapture it. I mean, but the problem is Phyllis is constantly going on and on about the life that they've shared together after the marriage, and Jack knows that he had nothing to do with that. Can you imagine how every time Phyllis says something about a happy memory that she's had within the last couple of months, can you imagine how that must turn Jack's stomach? And it's strange because as he is it's starting to come to a boil. She's wanting to remember things that he's wanting to forget, and he's wanting to gloss over things that she really cherishes. And I almost detected a note of Jack being a little bit resentful of the fact that Phyllis couldn't distinguish between the two of them. I wonder if you guys picked up on that too. And I almost think that's maybe what really catapulted him to the next level of needing to tell the truth. I think he just can't bear to keep the truth from her any longer as well, and maybe thinking that a part of her needed to know what had gone on, but he finally can't hold it in any longer, and he just tells her, look, the reason why you notice such a big difference between my personality then and my personality now is because there were two Jack Abbotts. And it's something obviously that he was wanting to tell her while he was in the hospital, writing the number 2 on that little piece of paper. But I was pretty shocked. I wasn't expecting him to just come out and tell her. There was a part of me that thought maybe that secret might just get swept under the rug, and I was fine with it. But you know, there was even another, again, that was the last cliffhanger on Friday's show, and I thought to myself, I bet they'll get interrupted. There'll be some reason why he doesn't end up telling her the whole truth. But then the previews for Monday's show have her completely reacting to it and realizing it. So I guess the secret is going to be coming out in full force next week. I'll tell you right now, I would not want to be in Victor Newman's shoes after Phyllis finds out, because when she finds out what has happened to her, and then who was behind it, she's going to go back to Genoa City, she's going to march up to Victor's office, and she is going to rip his throat out with her teeth, and she's going to be right to. Apparently, both Noah and Marissa are incapable of wiping their own mouths. Last week we had Noah bringing Marissa chicken soup, and when she can't wipe her own mouth, he takes a little napkin, he gets her mouth, oh, let me help you with that. And then this week he brings her this big silver platter, and underneath of it are these beef sliders, Wisconsin, probably with some Wisconsin cheese on them, I think he said, and he wants to reveal to her some of the finery of Midwestern food, and in order to show her how delicious they are, he takes a big bite out of the beef slider, but always got ketchup on his mouth, and so Marissa has to come and wipe his mouth too. What is it, Y&R, about this? Why is this romantic? And what is it with these two people? They can't freaking feed themselves correctly? It was weird. But of course, I'm loving Noah and Marissa. I think it's such an unexpected and just sweet twist. I'm still wondering what exactly the connection between Marissa and Victor is going to be. I don't know. I almost kind of wonder if there's any chance that Marissa's gonna end up being Victor's daughter or something. I don't know. I can't help looking for what the twist is gonna be, because there was certainly a connection there, or I'm thinking maybe is Victor gonna hook up with her or what? I don't know. I'm not sure. I have no evidence to support this, and please don't tell me if you know what it is, but I'm just speculating here. So Marissa is, of course, being brought in to tie up loose ends on the Courtney and Austin's murder storyline. Kevin and oh, good Lord, Mariah and Marissa. That's going to be a hard one for me to keep straight. Kevin and Mariah are not fooled. They're not quite as blinded toward Marissa as Noah is. And they decide that they want to double check her story about what happened that night at the lake. So Mariah and Kevin get their scuba gear and they go scuba diving to the bottom of the lake. And they miraculously miraculously find the car, and the problem is, as we kind of predicted last week, they find the car, but they don't find the body. They do not find Marco, which I think is just YNR's way of kind of just sort of leaving this story on a note that Marco might still be out there. I don't know, I feel like we're done seeing the twins. I don't know why. I feel like that was just their way of leaving it open. But I guess there's a part of me that just feels shocked by but that we're still talking about all of this. Kevin and Marissa come back to Noah and and Marissa and tell them that they didn't find the body, and they decide that they want to go to the police and turn the information over. They turn it over to Detective Harding. Detective Harding comes in, he questions Marissa, he's suspicious of her. Everybody's wondering, what, does Marissa have any involvement? Is Marco not dead? Is he gonna come back for Marissa and for the rest? I just, the whole thing is so done and tired for me. I loved, though, that Detective Harding made some kind of comment about Mariah and Kevin doing the Scooby-Doo gang thing, which really tickled me because we've been saying that here. I thought, did they get that line from YNR chatters? I doubt it, but we've been calling him the Scooby-Doo gang here since day one, and then it was kind of funny to see him saying that. I'm probably entirely a coincidence because it's such a clear parallel, but I was tickled by that, but not tickled by the fact that we're still talking about this story all these months later. Was anybody else shocked that Nick had a total change of heart when it comes to Sage? He was furious last week with her that she kept the paternity test results from him, and then this week he really switched it all around. And I think it was Monday's show, she had Sage had a doctor's appointment and she was waiting to see if Nick was going to join her, and he never came. And there was a part of me that thought, well, I guess this is over now. Nick was furious. And then maybe an episode later, or maybe it was later in that episode, he completely had a change of heart. He tells Sage, you had every right to turn to someone else. I get it. And I want to be with you even if the baby wasn't mine, which I'm still wondering if there's any chance there's a switcheroo going on there. I don't believe paternity results anytime they get revealed on this show. I think there's still very much possibility that Adam could be the baby's father, but I'm surprised that Sage and Nick are still gonna go strong. But I think it's gonna be a plot point for a larger, more scary story with Sharon, but I'll talk about that later. I want to just focus in on Nick for a second because I was also surprised that Victor comes back to Newman Enterprises. He's back in the chair now, and Nick immediately tells Victor, I'm out. If you're back, I'm out. I was only here to help secure the company while you were gone, but this is not where I belong. This is not where I want to be. Good instinct, Nick. Really good instinct. You should have got out while the getting was good, but of course, Victor ends up changing his mind. Victor will say anything, he will do anything to keep Nick close. And now, for crying out loud, Victor's come out very well on top of all of this. He's gotten almost everything he wanted. He certainly got a piece of Jack's company. Now he's got all his children working under him. Victor Newman, for where he is right now, is sitting pretty good. But it made me annoyed, of course, with Victor during that scene with Nick. Nick tells Victor, I don't really want to be involved in this company because you don't really tell me everything. You always keep me in the dark. And so Victor says, all right, I'll tell you what happened in the park that night. And it just amounted to Victor throwing Nick a bone of information. I don't think Victor told Nick anything more than he told Victoria, just basically that he had found out months and months prior that there was going to be an attack upon there was going to be an attack upon his company, an attack upon his family, and he was not going to allow it. So he was, I guess, preemptively striking against Jack. Or he did admit that that he was working behind Jack's back the entire time when the merger happened. So big deal. Everybody pretty much knew that. I just was annoyed that Victor only gives Nick enough, and it's the same way with Nikki. everybody. He only gives them enough information to keep them sated. You know, just enough to what you need to know to not completely turn on him. It's so annoying. It was annoying to see Nick stand there and completely change his values. Nick has been the guy who was not the anti-Victor for so long. He was like the you know, if you watch Bold and the Beautiful, it was kind of like the dynamic between Bill and Liam. They're pretty opposite, and I liked that Nick was like, I don't want to be a part of this fast-paced lifestyle. I just want to run my bar. I want to do my thing. I want to be the alternative Nick, and I don't want to end up being like my father and my mother. And so he was kind of doing his own thing, and now he's standing there telling Victor that he wants to give him ground rules for staying at Newman Enterprises, and the ground rules are, first of all, I'm not your pawn in this whole game with Jack or anybody else, and second of all, just because I work for you, it doesn't give you a license to run my life. Well, yeah, right, on both accounts. Victor's gonna do both of those things. In fact, he was testing those waters immediately. Nick should know better. Victor, it's weird. It's really weird because there was a brief scene early in the week, I think it was even on Monday's show, where Nikki had basically forgiven Victor. I guess she's just forgiven Victor now. They're so back and forth, I can't even keep straight whether or not they're together. But they showed up together, having a meal, and they were talking, and Nikki was challenging Victor a little bit about the way he's always talking about how important it is to be a Newman. And she said to him, well, you tell me, what does it mean to be a Newman? What does that mean? Because it's not just the name. What is it that you think that means? And I was really tickled to see that that was a question that was brought up on Monday's show. And on Friday, at the very end of that conversation with Nick, Victor reveals the answer to that question. And he looks Nick dead in the face and he says, what does it mean to be a Newman? It means you defend who you love at all costs. And it seemed very revealing to me. I loved that it was a thread that, everything's a thread this week, but I loved that it tied in from Monday to Friday. And I just think that there's so much more to the story with Marco. I feel like Weiner's getting ready to write a backstory. Getting ready to write something that happened prior to the whole Marco thing that maybe is going to explain. I mean, they gave us that weird teaser about the Paragon Project last week. I mean, what the heck's that? They brought that up, didn't follow up on it, and then Victor alluded to the fact that he was aware, he would become aware of a plot to take away his family and his company and blah. So I feel like we're getting ready to to have a prequel to this story. As if it were bad enough, the story, now we're gonna get the prequel. Sharon just so happens to be at the hospital for her first ultrasound at the exact same time that Sage is at the hospital. Something about this is very, very fishy to me. And frankly, the way Sharon is being so nice to Sage is fishy to me. I mean, there was really funny. There was a scene where Sage is freaking out over the fact that Nick hasn't arrived at her doctor's appointment, and Sage lets slip that she thinks her and Nick's relationship is not as strong anymore. And Sharon said, well, hey, it's not like you lied to him about his daughter's DNA test. That was great. That was a really great throw-in, and I appreciated that a lot. But I just keep thinking something is really, really off here. I've been thinking throughout Sharon's pregnancy that she's not really pregnant. I mean, I felt very, very sure that there's just no way she's pregnant. But then Dylan shows up for the ultrasound. They go in, they see the baby on the screen together, and I just thought, I guess she is pregnant. I'm shocked. I mean, the baby was right there on the screen. I don't know how that could be a mistake, but what I know is that 2 pregnancies at the same time plus Sharon off her meds equals a recipe for disaster. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But the thing is, it's so so weird because Sharon seems so stable right now, doesn't she? It's like she's so wise, and she's talking to Sage, and that conversation with Sage just was so I don't know, I just got a wise vibe from her. Like, she learned from her mistakes. Well, why is she being so stable when she's off her meds? But then later, there was a scene at the coffee house between her and Dylan. They're looking at the photo of their baby from the sonogram, and it should be this happy, joyous occasion, and instead Sharon freaks out and kind of almost breaks up with him. And I don't know if that was a function of her not being on her meds or if it was just a self-sabotage moment, but Dylan had to talk her down from that ledge. And so I don't know what's going to happen with them. Something weird is going to have to happen with Sharon. And Dylan is also, he is so all in. He's very almost clingy. I know a lot of people love Dylan and Sharon. To me, it's just always been too fast, too fast, too fast. And I will freaking bet you that we are stepping into the very beginnings, maybe next week, maybe the week after, I don't know, but the very beginnings of Sharon and Dylan now just magically deciding to get married. I thought the scene at the hospital with Stitch and the Marine veteran was a little schmaltzy. At first when I saw it, there's this sort of disgruntled vet in the hospital, and he's being a little aggressive with one of the nurses, and Stitch steps in, and he just happens to know and be able to detect that the guy is a veteran, and that this is someone he can connect with, and Stitch steps in, and he just takes over control of the situation and is very empathetic with the guy, and we got this really feel-good vibe from Stitch, and I thought it just seemed kind of like isolated and bizarre, and why is Weiner doing this? And then after having this really meaningful moment with the vet, with this veteran, somebody who has seen the harshness of war, Stitch comes back to the athletic club to have a little dinner or drinks with Abby, and is trying to share this experience with her and talk through what he's been through. Because that's a real issue. That's actually, if it was a legitimate, we're going to do a storyline about vets and PTSD, like, that is legit. And I think that's a story that could completely be told, because we know, like, veterans in this country, they have trouble getting medical care. There's a lot of PTSD that goes undiagnosed. It's a real issue. So I'm not trying to take away from that. I just thought YNR was doing a little isolated incident to make us feel good about Stitch, and I thought, well, that's weird. But then Stitch sits down to share this experience with Abby, and she actually compares what Stitch is talking about, the camaraderie of soldiers who've been through something, to her camaraderie with Gabe at Newman Enterprises. What? Yeah, that hasn't been probably one of the best moments of the week for me, because the look on Stitch's face, it was just incredible. I think for the first time, Stitch had this very real moment of, wow, what do I really have in common with this person who is sitting across the table from me right now? It was written all over his face. And also written on his face was, yeah, gee, I'd also prefer to be smooching on her mother instead. And that brings us to time for comments. Gina left me a voicemail. Gina in Australia says, 3 cheers for Nikki's hairdo. That made me laugh. I was so happy and thrilled to see everybody giving cheers to Nikki's hair. It surely was the story of the week. Katie on Facebook, great comment, says, so glad Stitch is finally seeing Abby for the vain, narcissistic princess she is. Comparing a business relationship to Stitch's Marine friends, I honestly didn't think Abby could do or say anything stupider, but she is always full of surprises and herself. Ooh, it's such a good comment. I felt the same way. Bobby on Facebook says, what the heck is Abby saying to Stitch when he was remembering the war and his fallen soldier brothers, comparing that to her relationship with Gabe? Who would ever say that? It is shocking. And that was a great breaking moment for Stitch and Abby. I'd love to know if anybody's sad about that. Are there any Stitch and Abby fans? Feel free to talk. I'm not gonna like dress you down or nothing. If you like them, tell me why. I think certainly though that relationship is headed toward demise. Daisy on Facebook says, I think there's a chance that Sharon paid off the ultrasound technician and she's not really pregnant. I've seen nothing to say that this happened, but I'm not buying the loving, understanding, helpful Sharon. She is behaving so odd to me. Hide the matches, Sage, and your baby. Yeah, I know. I agree. I don't know. The ultrasound thing throws me off because I almost wonder if Sharon's going to end up losing the baby and think that Dylan is going to leave her because of it, and then she tries to pull some kind of crazy switcheroo with Sage's baby. That might actually be it. I don't know. NippyFan100 left me a voicemail that said, what spell does Nick have over women that turns these women from being headstrong into weaklings? It happened with Sharon. She started off being very headstrong, kind of going head to head with Nikki into the wafy woman we know now. It happened with Sage. It even happened with Phyllis. It's such a good point. It really is. I think the women in Nick's life are just so desperate to keep him for some reason. Gary left me a voicemail, and I loved this comment because I never would have thought about it. He was watching the Adam kidnapping storyline, and he immediately left a voicemail that said, another Connor kidnapping. And Gary didn't elaborate on that point, but it totally flashed me back to the fact that Connor's been kidnapped 3 times already. It happened with Dylan, had a PTSD fit and ran away with Connor. Then Chloe had a crazy fit and ran away with Connor. And now Adam. I never would have thought about that if you hadn't said it. And so I'm so glad you did, because what is up with people wanting to kidnap this poor kid? And it is also weird. Gary had mentioned about how kidnapping storylines used to actually take some time, but it's just something that soaps don't do anymore. That's that kidnapping. In fact, all 3 of those kidnappings, I'm in thinking, oh, this is where the storyline's headed now, and it's not. They're resolved the next day. I don't know if maybe there's some sensitivity issues that YNR has to work around where they can't really go full on with a kidnapping, but they certainly don't really do it all up anymore. One other thing too, Gary had called in and read me an article from Soap Opera Digest about, it was an interview with a set decorator. Really, really interesting. If you guys read Soap Opera Digest, and the set decorator was talking about all of the meticulous detail that they do to break down and create the sets that we see every single day, and that everything has to be in its place because viewers notice if even the littlest things are out of order. I'm not that viewer personally. I mean, if it looks anywhere near as close as it was last time, I'm fine. I would never notice the tiniest knickknack being removed from a scene, but I guess a lot of people do. But the one thing, maybe Gary, you can tell me this, because Gary worked at YNR for a period, I want to say, I think it was like 78, 79, worked as a page at YNR. And the one thing I've always wondered about the YNR sets is all of the floral arrangements. Are they real? If anybody could tell me that, Gary or anybody, if you guys happen to know, YNR has these most beautiful flowers in every single room. I am always stunned. I love flowers. So I'm always stunned by the gorgeous floral arrangements, and I always think, are they fake? Because it would be a lot of money to have to bring in fresh flowers for those scenes every single time. So I want to know how swank YNR actually is, or are they using fakies? Somebody please tell me, are the flowers on YNR for real? Grenadian Candy on YouTube says, I wanted Jack to screw over Victor as soon as he woke up, and now that he isn't, I'm pissed. He better have a darn good plan up his sleeves. I picked this comment because I feel exactly the same way. It's almost annoying to me that whatever Jack's revenge is going to be dragged out. I mean, I think we have sort of wrapped up one part of this Jack versus Victor story, and now we're entering into another. And there's a part of me that wonders, is Jack really going to do a revenge thing? Or is it another one of those things that YNR just sort of has somebody say and then it never really comes to fruition? I don't know. Are we actually going to see Jack enact some kind of revenge on Victor? Rocks Grace on YouTube says, Allie, I have to tell you, I am experiencing extreme Victor fatigue. I think the character is taking way too much screen time. I found myself muting the Victor Jack scenes in Jack's hospital room. I just couldn't deal with the smugness, the mumbling, the retcon. Huge sigh. I need a Victor break. Allie, the Paragon Project is a rewrite. It never happened. It's yet again another retcon. I love this comment too because I was not aware of what retcon was, but unless I'm wrong, it's where it's in story continuity. It's where people rewrite the continuity of a story. And I loved if anybody has like a really good example of other retcons that we've had on YNR, I leave it because I would leave it in a comment because I would love to hear it. I think it's such interesting. It's kind of where they go back and they sort of revise. And I guess it happens all the time, but I really think you're right. I think that the Paragon Project is a preview of the prequel we're going to get. Just one other thing here, kind of on a unresolved stories note. 3 different people mentioned to me this week that they think Sage was the person who was driving the car that hit Delia. I'm like trying to give up. I'm trying to just give up on the who killed Delia storyline thing because it just has not gone anywhere. I've spent the last, 2 years wondering when they were going to actually have somebody other than Adam have killed Delia, so I've just kind of given up on it. But I thought it was odd that 3 different people said that this week, that maybe Sage's motive for giving Adam the new face might have had to do with the fact that she was the one who really killed Delia. And then also Diana left me a voicemail for the first time. Yay, cool. Hi, Diana. And asked if I think Austin could be the real killer. He certainly had motive to rape Avery, and of course, he could have been the one to, and would have had a motive to kill Courtney. It's kind of another situation where I just sort of, I was sure that Austin and Courtney were still alive, and I'm just sort of slowly coming along to the belief that I guess they just can't be alive, but I don't know. If YNR is going to pick back up that storyline, then I wish they'd just do it and get it over with. And this whole time we're going round and round with the Scooby-Doo gang still, I'm struggling because we all just sort of assumed that, I think the viewer sort of assumed that Marco did it. So is YNR now just going through and tying up loose ends so that they can confirm with us that Marco is the real killer, or are they actually going to reveal what the truth is about it now? It's been since February. Just come out with it, YNR, whatever it is. Nathan left a comment for me on YouTube saying, hey, Allie, this is the second time I've watched your review and you are great at what you do. Thank you, Nathan. With what's going on with the show as of right now, I feel that the writing is off the wall and in a bad way. So that's not good despite the ratings. I heard that Chuck Pratt and the executive producer Jill Farron Phelps are undergoing contract renegotiations. I just hope YNR can get better writing. So I'd love to know from everyone, do we know that our executive producer and our head writer are revising and renegotiating their contracts right now? I'd love to know the answer. I'd love to have a confirmation of that, because I will admit, I'd love to see the writing take a different direction too. I don't want to like bash on the people because they put a lot of effort. I mean, no matter what, not everything on YNR sucks. A lot of it is good. There are definitely some things that drive me crazy, but there's definitely some good in with the bad. So I don't want to bash anybody in their efforts because, I mean, at the end of the day, I have to respect and appreciate everybody involved because they do a good job. They put on a good show, and it can't be easy. I mean, 5 hours a week, 5 episodes a week has got to be a grueling schedule, and it's a lot of content to have to come up with, so I don't want to be too bad, but there is a part of me that kind of wishes that we could quietly usher in sort of a new regime or give it a shot in the arm or something. I am kind of also wishing for a little something different. Beatrice left me a voicemail saying Paul's heart attack is just the same as Ashley's brain tumor. They're going to sweep right over that. YNR has so many mini storylines that they don't even finish the main storylines. That's exactly how I'm feeling too, because when the Paul heart attack thing happened, I thought there's no way they're going to pick up on this. It's just kind of a plot device, and it feels a lot like YNR is always looking for that shock, like, oh, Paul's having a heart attack. Back in the day, and maybe this is just me getting old and being an old grumpy soap viewer, but back in the day, that Paul had a heart attack, they would have lashed onto that, and it would have been the story for 2 weeks or more, and it's just not like that anymore. And you know, there's good and bad with that. I mean, there's definitely something annoying about something being dragged out for forever, but yeah, I know what you're saying, and I totally agree. Another point that Beatrice had mentioned, actually 2 more points in her voicemail, was this intrigued me, was the idea that maybe Phyllis could end up pregnant. Now, I feel like Phyllis maybe had some trouble conceiving, but that means nothing as far as that would probably be a retcon, right? But I thought that might be an interesting twist, and I would have predicted that maybe that would have been the way that she found out that Marco was out there and was sleeping with her. Although now we're getting the reveal. But it's interesting that they made a point of showing Jack having sex with Phyllis upstairs this week, because certainly she could end up pregnant, and certainly we could be wondering who that baby daddy was. In other news too that Beatrice had alerted me to that I didn't know is that Michelle Morgan is pregnant, the actress who plays Hillary. So the reason that YNR is kind of transitioning us into this wedding fiasco, Devon getting framed storyline, is because the actress is eventually going to need to be ushered off screen so that she can have her maternity time. So that's great. I mean, congratulations, Michelle Morgan. I think she's great. I really have grown to like her a whole lot. So I think but I think it's sort of an indicator of what we're going to end up seeing with Devon and Hillary. More than likely, we're going to see something get blown up with that wedding. Hillary's going to find out what Devon did, even though he didn't really do it. And she's possibly going to leave town for a little while. Okay, you guys, I don't know how long I've been talking, but I'm guessing it's longer than normal. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, the YNR chat, and of course, YNR. And I hope that you leave me some comments. I love hearing from you guys. I read every single comment that comes in. I listen to every single voicemail that comes in, so please don't be shy. You can go to yrchat.com, and from there, you can find the YouTube channel if you want to see the video and leave and read comments on YouTube. There are a lot of comments that you can also read in addition to leaving me comments, and it's also, I think, kind of cool to see all of the different perspectives. So you can go to yrchat.com to find YouTube, you can find Facebook, you can find Twitter, you can find the link to the podcast, and you can even just leave a comments for me on the blog and see what I've got going on there. I try to put up funny photos and all that. And actually, if you want to follow on Twitter and Facebook, I usually post links to all of the extra stuff I do. Let's see, you can also call the voicemail, 309-588-4569. I love hearing from you guys. I really appreciate the feedback, and I hope that everybody has a good week. I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.